Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully well, hopefully great, and hopefully good. Cool. We'll wait for a couple people to get online here, some more people, and then we'll get into sharing the screen. And go from there. A couple things to look at. I know some people are probably looking at the ticker symbol OSN. That is a penny stock that started to run today and then shortly died afterwards. So we will probably touch on it, but I don't think we'll be trading that one today. What's up, NASDAQ SE, baby? Let's go. Yeah, Roku is going to be the main again today, without a doubt. And then also Shopify. I mean, yeah, Shopify is good, but I never really trade Shopify myself personally. But thank you, Jack. Appreciate it. Thoughts on ACB? ACB had a good bounce day yesterday, but it's still in a downtrending fashion. I would wait for it to break above its current downtrend and then retest that downtrend level before looking at it as a buy. You probably didn't understand anything I just said, or you're trying to envision what I just said in your head, and you're like, wait for it to break downtrend, retest downtrend. What is it even saying? So I'll show you what I mean on the chart in a little bit. Cool. So anyways, let's get into sharing the screen. Looks like we got a couple people here. All right, so let's move over. We'll start at CGC because we already kind of discussed CGC yesterday, so some of you guys should be relatively familiar with that. All right, so yesterday CGC gapped up, right? In the morning, let me put it on a 5-minute chart. Here we go. Yeah, so yesterday CGC gapped up, then it closed its gap down, then it kind of bounced, and then it gave us a very bullish buy here, and then it kind of came down again, gave us another bullish buy here, which anyways, so you can kind of see we're starting to try to kind of tick an uptrend to the upside right now. So we're starting to see a little bit of a shift in bullishness, right? If we go back 10 days, right, down, 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 grind up, down, sideways, down, down, bullish push, down, gap up, push down, back up, gap up. So you're starting to see a little bit of change in momentum there, all right? And not to mention, there's been a bullish divergence. Momentum's picking up while the stock is still trying to press down. So I think we're starting to see those signs of a turnaround on CGC, and it makes sense that we're seeing it here because, again, it's kind of down towards that $25 price point of support, right? So if we go look at it, kind of all the way down. So, this also goes to, I think, Will, maybe it was you who was asking about ACB, right? You can see that a lot of the marijuana stocks are getting smoked, have been getting smoked, and now they're starting to come into relatively good buy levels. So the fact that you're seeing ACB start to maybe jump a bit isn't really surprising considering it's been downtrending for so long and it's starting to enter into demand zones for the stock, which should be happening to quite a few marijuana stocks. You're seeing with CGC, you're starting to see with ACB, so it just makes sense. The marijuana sector has been beaten down. It's starting to get into good territory or buy territory for those specific stocks. So to see that they're all starting to kind of have these little bit of a bullish signs or buy signals isn't really surprising, right? So anyways, we're following CGC. Probably going to watch it today for a swing trade still. Didn't enter yesterday, just kind of watching. I think today might be a little bit of a better day. Might get some more bullish activity out of it. So long story short, still watching CGC for some long bias trading. Now that we're down to this 25, we successfully double bottomed, so to speak, and we're kind of grinding up with some higher lows. All right. Yeah, I did see RKDA go up. Yeah, it was unexpected. Ideally, it did go up. It actually had a pretty decent day later in the day. Had a decent day. Definitely a little bit of a short squeeze that took place, but yeah, it traded pretty well yesterday. All right, next one is Roku. So Roku ended up going long yesterday, kind of as I think we mentioned, kind of over this, pre-market consolidation level. Then it got smashed down, then got bought up, ended up having a great run. At this point in time, Roku has become pretty much a trending stock. You can see we pushed up here off of earnings. We dipped, we never went into a full-on consolidation-like formation. We just kind of pushed up, did a small cup and handle, kept going, and now we're just kind of grinding out. So I would just continue to follow Roku long bias until it shifts trend. So for me, I'll be watching Roku long bias today over this 145 mark and just basically trying to ride the trend of Roku higher as it's starting to trade, obviously more bullish than it is bearish at this moment in time. So again, pretty straightforward. Roku and CGC are pretty much the only things that I'm really watching for on the day at this current moment in time. All right, so pretty much that covers it. Those are CGC, Roku. Those are going to be the two main watches for me on the day. Really not going to be. I mean, I might trade something else, right? But it all depends. If something pops up, hits a scanner, maybe I'll trade that. Like I always said, there's usually, like for me, Netflix is always a go-to. If whatever I'm looking at doesn't really pan out the way I want, or maybe I take a loss, or I'm not trading very well with what it is I was originally watching, then a lot of times I'll just kind of shift gears right to Netflix because I'm really good at trading Netflix. And usually end up making money on the stock. So it's like if I'm having a tough day, I'll usually just kind of resort back to Netflix and then find a trade on there to get myself into green or back to like a break-even day. Okay, yeah, I just sent you a message back, so I don't know if maybe you sent one back to me, but yeah, I was going to be dropping the packages off at UPS today and then sending you over the tracking information after today's trading session. So yeah, actually, it's funny you said something about India. I have been looking at India. I just looked at India last night, so I don't know enough to touch on that for you, but I just started looking at India last night in terms of their market, and their market has been having a really good expansion period or move. But to be completely honest, I have no clue how you get involved in some of their equities and some of their stocks because I don't even know if it's available on Thinkorswim. So I'd have to do more research on that because again, I normally stay focused in the American market, never really go outside into other markets, but they have been having pretty good momentum in India. So something to consider, something to take a look at for sure. Will, if you're a trader, it's gonna happen all the time. Honestly, don't even worry about getting into stocks and just start moving. I mean, they come and go, and moves like that happen all the time. And not much you can do about it, right? If you're gonna be a trader and do this actively and kind of watch the market, you're gonna miss moves all the time. So, I've become really good at not playing the shoulda, woulda, coulda game. At this point, if you miss something, you just miss something. And after you trade for so long, you just realize you're just going to miss things and it's just going to happen. And you stop worrying about it at that point. Yeah, so you're right. Trump could tweet something kind of crazy, kind of mess the markets up a little bit. It's always possible. How do you fight your hair loss problem? You don't. You just let it happen. There is no fighting the hair loss problem. I already know for a fact I'm probably going to hit my 30s, 35, and just have a mean receding hairline. It's going to be awesome. You take on CRM. Nope, never traded Salesforce. I know Salesforce ended up selling off the day of its earnings. Pretty sure, but that was also the day that Trump tweeted about the China thing and it screwed up the market. So didn't end up trading CRM that day. How do you trade Netflix? Well, I just do. I've watched and traded Netflix so many times. I've become pretty good at understanding how it is that stock likes to move and its actual characteristics. So, again, that's something I always mention is to take a handful of stocks, whether it's one, maybe it's two stocks, and really trade just those stocks and get really good at trading those stocks and always have those as kind of your go-to stock, right? It's not like you focus on trading the same penny stock every single day, because a penny stock every single day is not going to be good. But Netflix, for example, moves $10 per share every single day. Think about it. $10 per share every single day. So there's usually going to be some money to make on that stock somewhere. Yep. Do I scalp options at all? I have scalped options. Occasionally, every once in a while, I will. Option scalping is generally the same thing as trading shares of stocks. It's just going to be more aggressively leveraged, so you just win or lose money faster. It's basically all it is to it. If you're going to scalp options, you could do same day expirations because it doesn't really matter because you're going to be closing them out in seconds to minutes. But yeah, it's literally the same thing as trading stock essentially when you're scalping it, so to speak. JNUG, LABU, you guys. Yeah, so WizardCon, the whole news with KFC selling the BYND food. I mean, that's great and all, but trajectory for BYND is still downwards, probably to the $100 mark for right now. J&J, yes, J&J just got caught up. Well, not caught up, but they've just been asked to or closed on. I think it was like $527 million to be paid out for the opioid crisis. My biggest concern with that is I would like to know exactly where the $527 million will be going. I guess if I did some more research, I could probably find out where the $527 million is going. But again, if we're really talking about the opioid crisis, then we're really referring to the humans that have been affected by the opioid crisis and their families and the deaths. So really the question is where does the $527 million go to? Is it going towards the families and the loved ones that were lost, or is it lining the pockets of politicians and stupid programs that the government really wants to offer? So that's really the question there is. It's more or less probably, local government taking in more money that's actually been giving out to provide the opioid crisis. I'm assuming that's probably the case because usually that's how politics works. So anyways, Johnson & Johnson had to pay out $527 million for the opioid crisis. I'm assuming that $527 is not going to be spent wisely or given out properly to whom it's probably deserved to be given to. And so I think they were supposed to, or it was assumed that it was going to be a $1 billion payout for the opioid crisis, and only being half that, you would see the J&J stock ended up jumping up. I'll show you here on the chart. So if you look at J&J, you're going to see that the stock is up, or was at least earlier. You can kind of see it pop. That was it popping on the news that they had to pay out $527 million. Why on earth would a stock pop after having to pay out $527 million? Because they were expected to have to pay out $1 billion. So that's $527 million or $500 million better than what they thought. That's pretty good. When would I buy in gold? I would buy in gold like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. That's what I did. So that's when I would have bought, and I did buy. Always 10 minutes late. Which one's better, gold or silver? Gold, silver. I mean, silver is actually, I would say, used a little bit more widely in terms of like electronics and things like that. Okay, sorry, my math must be off. I know I read something about 17 billion, read something about 500 million, so maybe my numbers are off, or whoever's reporting the news might be a little off, but yeah, so either way, they had to pay out far less than what you thought. So anyways, between silver, between gold, I mean, gold is just kind of the more of the safe haven play during economic recession and stores of value, so you tend to see gold move up a little bit more than silver does, right? So if the economy is getting a little shaky, people are fearful of a recession, you're going to tend to see people move into gold and into silver, but you're tending going to see people move into gold first, and then silver kind of lags behind gold. So what's a better play? I mean, personally, I think gold's better than silver, but it doesn't mean that you can't make money in silver. So it really just comes down to yourself, how many shares you're trying to buy, what do each chart formation look like. So personally, I have both of them. I am actually more heavily invested in silver just because I think silver is going to have a decent move in which I was able to accumulate more shares on silver. So I should be able to generate a bigger monetary return than I was able to on gold. Chris, yeah, I hope it spikes. Do you treat Netflix like GLD? No, I don't treat Netflix like GLD because GLD is an ETF, which is backed by a lot of gold companies, whereas Netflix is an actual stock that is backed by its own company in itself. So no, don't treat them anything similar to being the same. What's my thoughts on AMD? It appears to be closed bullish. It's So yes, AMD closed relatively good on the day. It gapped up because the market gapped up, and then it kind of consolidated because the market consolidated. So again, if the market has a bullish day or a green day, then I would expect to be long bias on AMD. But if the market ends up having a bearish day or a bearish move down, I would be short bias on AMD. So again, really AMD is following and trading very closely in relation to how the overall market's trading, whether that be the Dow Jones, and NASDAQ, or the S&P 500. So I keep on track either the Dow Jones, NASDAQ, S&P 500 to see if they're going to have a bullish day, and then that's going to give you an easier determination of how you should be trading AMD. No, I do not trade gold and silver mining stocks. I'm just holding them. Yes, long term. Long term as in through like our next bad recession or economic times, because apparently, half of the population thinks we're never going to have a recession, and then the other half thinks they're going to have the recession. So I can tell you which half is wrong, and I can tell you which half is right. The half that is right is the one saying that there will be a bearish time, an economic recession, and potential crash. The people who are wrong are the ones that are saying there's not going to be. And then you also have these in-betweeners. I like to call them the stubborn ones that say, I'll believe a recession when I see it. That's like saying, I'll get car insurance or I'll get homeowners insurance after my house burns down. It's a great plan. Really. Fantastic idea. You really sound some kind of stupid when you say something like that. That's seriously it. Like, so you're going to get homeowners insurance after your house burns down. It's a great idea. Like saying, I'll believe a recession when I see it. So I'll just lose a shit ton of my money or not be prepared until it happens. Great idea. Fantastic. So, and really the argument there is that the market's going to go higher, and if they start shifting around portfolios, then they're going to lose out on the gains to come. Well, let me tell you something. When you look at the market and you see that the market's been on a bull run for basically 13 years now, right? And you go, well, we're going to miss the move to the upside. What move to the upside are you really referring to? Because you go back, I find it hard to understand what move to the upside people are referring to, because we've already been moving to the upside for like 10, 12 years. So sure, maybe there's a little bit more. But again, in terms of trading and investing, you always look at risk to reward. What is greater right now, reward or risk? Reward, oh yeah, that's right. The risk is greater than the reward, so you shouldn't be aiming for the reward at this point. You should be aiming to protect yourself against the risk. There is more reward down here. There's more reward to buy down here than there is to buy up here. So who cares if the market goes up a little bit more? If the market goes up a little bit more, anybody with any long-term investing account, 401k, anything like a pension or a Roth IRA, they're going to get that upside gain, right? If you're already invested long bias the market, then you're already going to get the gain to the upside. So again, long story short is we're definitely getting more bearish in our market in these times, and I'd be prepared for it. How do you add more positions for investing in dollar cost averaging? So Dan, so it depends on who you use as a broker, but usually most brokers nowadays are getting on board with, allowing you to do like monthly contributions to your investing account, whether it be $15, $150. Like you can set the determined amount of money that you'd like to invest each month or put aside to invest each month, and it'll automatically kind of purchase shares. So ideally, dollar cost averaging is this. Instead of you caring about what price a stock is or what price an investment is, you just buy regardless of where the price is. So whether it's $150 or it's $100 or it's $90 or it's $20, you're just buying. You just have it kind of set on an auto buy, and you just keep depositing, money every week, every month, whatever your schedule may be for investing, and you just continuously buy and buy and buy and buy and buy and buy. And ideally, what happens over time is your price usually kind of goes like this. It kind of just trends down because you're dollar cost averaging, whereas you're not really concerned about where the price is. you just continuously buy shares, and it should help lower your overall average price. Because you're going to be buying when it's high, you'll buy when it's low, you'll buy in the middle, you'll buy when it's high, buy when it's low, buy in the middle. So you're just basically dollar cost averaging shares over time. So how do you do that? You just auto set a time frame to be buying shares, or you just remember yourself to go in and continuously make sure you're investing on a timely manner. Do I think it will be similar? So Jordan, that's always a question. Do we think it'll be similar to 08, 09, right? So I mean, that's like the crystal ball. It's like yes, it can be, and no, it might not be. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really, to me, I mean, it does matter. But that's just the thing. Everyone's like, well, what's it going to be? Is it going to be like 08 or is it going to be like 09? It's really hard to tell because when you say something like, is it going to be like 08 or is it going to be like 09? You're not judging the market. You're really judging, human. You're judging the human, right? And ideally, what I would like to say is what you're asking yourself is, how stupid is the human individual, or the average human individual, or just humans in general? How stupid are they? And if you come up with anything else than really stupid, you're wrong, because we are really stupid at times. Like, we're so stupid we can let our country go into like some odd $21 trillion in debt. Like, we're so stupid we could let our own federal government run us into a Ponzi scheme. Like, we're so stupid we could let our own federal government steal our Social Security. That's how dumb we are. And so history tends to repeat itself. So when you think of like 08, you're like, well, could it be like 08? Well, let's see. Our U.S. government knew that the mortgages that we were lending out to these people were bad, and they knew, right? There was data, and they knew that it would crash the economy, but they didn't tell us. So if there is something of that nature brewing again, which there most likely is, because humans repeat their same mistakes over and over and over. I do it, you do it, we all do it. So we like to kind of repeat and make the same mistakes we have already done. So the likelihood that we have another 08 and 09 is very possible, because as humans, we really haven't changed much from 08 to 2019. Okay. So again, it's very possible that something like that happens. Will it happen? It's still in the air, but it can, because the only reason it will is humans. So yeah, that's what he's saying. There's going to be a recession eventually, right? Everyone's like, of course, we all know there's going to be one eventually, but that's the thing, is you need to prepare for it and get underneath it before it happens. PG only usually takes about a year, 2 years for the markets to kind of bounce back from bear market time. So usually about 2 to 3 years is like the average. Could be longer than that. Honestly, I think it's very possible. Well, see, you have to understand that recession has nothing to do with like an 08 housing market crash, right? The 08 market crash, I mean, that was a market crash. A recession is just 2 quarters of negative GDP growth, which doesn't really mean that you're doomed for like the absolute like bottom of death. But to me, I mean, the debt levels are just too high. So basically, put it this way: if the country ever defaults on its debt, which is very possible, we're going to get smoked. The U.S. dollar is going to be worth nothing. And so I think it's very possible we see the United States dollar crash. I think it's very possible the United States defaults on all its debt. And then the United States dollar no longer is the world's reserve currency. And if the U.S. dollar is no longer the world's reserve currency, then a lot's going to change, because think about it. If the U.S. dollar does not become the world's reserve currency, then it's going to lose a ton of value. And then think about what other countries are going to want to have to do with their debt. I mean, I think really the United States head's just in a guillotine, just ready to get chopped off. Yeah, we'll definitely get to doing that. All right. Oh yeah. So basically the government, just know this, the government will do everything in their absolute power and means to keep control. Just remember that. The government will always do everything that it can to keep control, which is not what they're supposed to do, but somehow they believe that that's their job, and a lot of people deem it to be their job, but it's not. You're supposed to have the control over your own life, essentially. Everything you do as an individual, you're supposed to do yourself and take control of it. The government's not really supposed to have any of that control or try to have any of that control. Somehow they've gotten to that level. So, if you take a power-hungry government, which all governments tend to end up very power-hungry, try to take power away from them, and it's not going to go over very well. So try to take the U.S. dollar, world reserve currency, away from the government. They're not going to like it. They're going to look for another means, which in their eyes is probably going to be something like cryptocurrency. That's why the government doesn't like cryptocurrency. They never really like the idea of it, because it is very hard for a government to control a monetary system that they can't control. They have zero control over it. So instead of them being, the player, right, now they're just involved in the game, right? Instead of them being the game, now they have to be the player. They have to play fair with everybody else. So again, government will most likely try to mandate, and they're going to most likely try to control the cryptocurrency market in any way, in any means necessary, because giving up power as a government body is the one and last thing that you would want to do, okay? And having control over currency, in which every single person has to use in order to buy goods and services, is a great way to have control. And without it, you lose a lot of control, and they're not going to want to do that. So yes, strong chances you see federal governments try to intervene and get into the world of cryptocurrency more and more as the world develops. Alrighty. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all for joining in. I appreciate it. Got to get back to our private group. Everybody take care. Have a great day. Stay green. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning.